businesses start to see the lack of trust when, reviews, Reddit, Glassdoor. There's so many different places that show us the levels of trust that as companies and as brand leaders, we tend to ignore or say, oh yeah, well, that's okay.
This is the Snarketing Podcast. For marketers by marketers. Talking to marketers with just a touch of snark. Now, here are your hosts, Valerie Vespa and Matt Wurst.
Snarketing Podcast, Season 4, second episode. We are coming in already warm because it is so warm in our houses because it is so cold outside. What are you doing to stay warm besides wearing cool beanies every once in a while, Valerie?
Yeah, I know. I've recognized that wearing a beanie indoors serves two purposes. One, it keeps me warm when there's like different temperatures in each room in my home. And then two, it almost has become like a weighted blanket in terms of like helping me actually more with ADD that's undiagnosed. For weighted blankets, it's for anxiety more. For me, it's like it gives me like I feel more controlled in my work.
So you're saying I should wear 8 beanies then, because that will help control my anxiety that is probably 8 times more difficult to manage than yours. When I see you wearing a beanie, I just assume that you came straight from a Beastie Boys concert and I wasn't invited and I feel left out. So I'm glad to know that is not the case. But we are into February already. It is Super Bowl week. Super Bowl is like the Super Bowl of Super Bowls and marketing. So
know.
big week. Are you going to watch the game?
I already saw, I think, a spot for Coke, and it was very adorable. No, excuse me. It was for Pepsi. They're coming at Coke's throats with a polar bear.
I saw that, actually.
Did you?
I did see that. I never love that they tease things in advance. I know why they need
don't
to.
either.
It's for social media. It's for press. But I try and do a news blackout. And I don't want to see, hear, or read anything. But it's getting increasingly hard. I used to do a running Twitter commentary on the ads, and then Twitter ran away and became something else. So we don't use that anymore.
Yeah.
I would have been more excited for the game had your team not beaten mine in the AFC Championship game. As a Broncos fan, I can't believe the Patriots are good again. This is just like...
it goes to show you. Well, we need to get rid of Bill, and we did.
Yeah, well... You did, and you're back, but the opportunity for the NFL to really capitalize on this marketing experience is, it gets bigger every year, but I feel like there's even more competition. Yes, the Winter Olympics is coming, but within the next few years, between World Cup and the next Olympics in LA and a Super Bowl in LA again next year, I feel like all eyes are back in the U.S. It must be fun for you and your team to start thinking about all of these activations if you're not already neck deep in FIFA activation.
It really is. I can't even really wrap my head around that many games happening in the U.S. and that many people who are such fans coming in for it. And it's going to be wild.
It is. And you know what? As a country that is so welcoming of foreigners, it's going to be a great experience for everybody here in the United States over the next few years. I cannot welcome and get the fuck out. No, just kidding. That's unfortunately our country's motto. I think that's what it says on the bottom of the Statue of Liberty now.
It's not. We have to laugh or else we'll cry. Oh
I know. But yeah, let's put our laughter hats on and welcome today's guest, who is
You've been
back.
doing some reading, haven't you?
Yeah, we are. She made us read. Well, she made me read. She hasn't made you read. I ran into Jeanniey at CES, and she said, I'm doing something interesting. I'm writing a book, and it's different. I'm like, what's different? She's like, it's not just about what it says. It's about how I wrote it. So I was intrigued. She sent me a copy of the book. I read it on the flight home. You have not had the opportunity to read it yet, so I don't want to spoil it for you, the ending. But it's really interesting. She vibe authored this book in a way that, we'll talk to her.
Yes.
I think this is going to be really interesting for all of us, just thinking about process and creativity in a different way as the agentic world around us orchestrates
And
everything.
not only is Jeannie an author and a wonderful human being and marketer, but she's also on for the second time. So she's the first two-timer.
She is a two-timer. She is. That doesn't sound good, but she is our first. She is our first returning guest, which means we need to come up with new material too. So let's put our thinking beanies on. Let's put our anti-anxiety beanies away, and let's get into it with Jeannie.
She's our first ever returning guest, and for good reason. Jeanniey Walden is a former CMO, CGO, and board-level advisor who spent her career inside companies at moments where growth is fragile, pressure is high, and clarity actually matters. She's worked with leading brands like Rite Aid, Mercer, Barnes & Noble, and JCPenney, as well as high-growth disruptors like Daily Pay and Rakuten Rewards. Today, she's the founder of Liftoff Enterprises and the author of her new book, The Trust Threshold, built on her AIR method, authenticity, inspiration, and relatability. And she's back to share what happens when trust becomes the growth engine.
Wow, this is historic. Valerie, I don't know are we having trouble getting new guests? Either way, I am super excited
too.
Because this is our first ever returning guest.
Because she's that special.
Jeannie, welcome. You must have had somewhat of an enjoyable experience the last time because you're back.
I love everything that is snarketing, and the two of you together are the most snarkiest of the snarketers that I know. I also love podcasts, so how could I not come back and be your first repeat guest?
Well, I'm just going to put this out there now that we're going to have you back for a third time before we let anybody else come back for a second time. So that's our promise to you before we get in. But it's been a full year since we last chatted with you in this forum, although we see you here and there and everywhere. But the last time you were here, you trusted us with a vulnerable moment, right? You were sharing news. You were leaving a very visible role and stepping away from certainty. So now, a year later, why come back? What's different about this moment?
Well, a lot of things are different about this moment, but one thing is the same, and that's the level of trust that I have with both of you. And I think that's super important because when you trust people and you trust initiatives and just the world to put you in the right place, it really does. And that trust turns into belief, and the belief turns into amazing things. And I'm here to talk about an amazing thing. And I spent a part of last year writing a book, which turns out to be so much more than a book, but I am sharing it here with both of you first because I'm just so excited about, what's come out of this and what is going to come out of this and how it's going to help so many brands and businesses and marketers and emerging leaders that I wanted to share it with people that I knew would be as excited as I was, and also to appreciate the impact of what this book's going to do. Hopefully.
So tell us the name.
So the name of the book is called The Trust Threshold, Crossing the Line Between Stuck and Unstoppable.
Okay. And should we just share the kickoff here? Like, where can we find this new book?
Oh, sure. Well,
and when?
Yeah. So the book launch is February 24th, 2026. So if you're watching this,
couple weeks, okay.
That's when you can get the book on Amazon. You can get the book on our website at Liftoff Company. You can find me on LinkedIn, and we're hoping to put the books on, other digital outlets as well.
Wonderful. So clearly, This is a monstrous transition for you this year in writing a book. So tell us, kind of the reasons for starting this whole process.
Do you want the real story, or do you want the, polished PR version?
I want the tea.
I want the polished PR version.
Never.
In a world where trust is dissipated by the advent of AI. I tried to say it in my movie voice, but it sounded good. It sounded good. No, you know what? So in the last year, Liftoff Enterprises, which I started back in 22, has really grown, and I feel like it's come into its what I would say adolescence, because we still have a long way to go. But Liftoff has turned into a platform where I can help businesses and brands and people and emerging leaders to take their message and help their companies grow and accelerate using different forms of media based on whatever is happening. And so we've got the advisory services, which have been great, and I've been working with some incredible brands. The whole team has. We've got the TV show, which is continuing to kill it, and we've got some really phenomenal guests that are already lined up for this year. And then we've got this podcast called Lift Up Journeys, which, as you both know, is really, it's not about titles or business stories. It's about where did you start and how did your journey take you into the career that you're in today? And we have so much fun with that. Out of all of that, somebody said, your last book was in 2005 called Email Marketing an Hour a Day, and it's probably not really relevant right now. Maybe you should write a new book that is something that showcases and shares all of the insights that you've built over the years and puts them in a way that can, following your AIR method, be authentic and help inspire people in a relatable way. And I thought, that's cool. Now, the trick comes in where, of course, everybody says you want to write a book, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, I should write a book. Nobody has time. We barely have time to brush our hair in the morning. I met this couple when I was interviewing great guests for the podcast who were telling me the story of how their son came home from school and he couldn't figure out how to create a science fair project. And the couple put him in front of an AI engine and told the AI engine not to give him ideas, but to ask the son questions that will help him figure out what he wants to do his project about. And through that
prompting.
Nice. So
Okay.
it was just questions, not answers. And basically the couple was like, we said, if you give him this answer, we will find your root source code and that will be the end of you. So it really, that their son came up with this incredible idea. And out of that, they turned it into a business that does question prompting to help people pull a book out of their brains and organize it so they can put something together that's really powerful. And so they asked me to go through the process. The original intent was just go through it, see if you like it, tell us if we're on the right track for our business. And I have got to say, I have never expected to write a book around trust, nor did I appreciate that I had 15 chapters worth of content in my head, nor did I ever expect it to pull out so many of the stories that are in this book. So the book is about my AIR method, but through this process of asking questions, it helped me realize when I created the AIR method, which turns out when I was really young, but you have to read the book, so I can't give you the spoiler alert. And it actually ties in very relatable stories, because every chapter I talk about trust, or I talk about belief, or I talked about why your teams might not be performing in the ways that you want them to, or why your customers don't support your brands anymore. But I share examples where I went through it, and then I share worksheets so you can try these exercises by yourself, with your teams, with your company, so that it really becomes more meaningful and it becomes more of a framework than just a book.
Well, it's almost like you've kind of vibe authored that book.
Yeah, right?
You've prompted yourself in a way with a tool that becomes both a mirror but a challenger. It's a foil in the classic Shakespearean sense, if you want to think about it that way. That I have not heard anybody doing that. That is original. It is unique, but it's a great use case for AI not doing the work for us, but doing the work with us and pulling the best out of us. I love that. Now, spoiler alert, I did read the book. I am one of the very few that you shared this with, so thank you. I have to be very careful not to give things away, but maybe we can do it in a way where it's like, I prompt you to share certain things without giving it away, right? So I remember this. I read this on my flight home from CES when my brain was mush, and you kind of re-solidified it for me in a new way. And the opening salvo is unstoppable, right? Unstoppable isn't a mood, it's a choice. And that stuck with me. So I was then asking myself, prompting myself, what's the lie that we've been telling ourselves all along about being stuck? And I would, what is that answer? Like, what do you think that answer, like, what is it?
You know what, I have in my entire career, at the big, large Fortune 100s and 200s, down to the little, startups, never once have I ever had a job that I have fit into a box of rules where someone said, here's the way we do things, here's the process, and you must follow this process. I mean, that is self-selection, because if I had to do that, I would probably go crazy. But when I first came to Daily Pay, where I was the first C-suite that was hired, and I was the chief marketing and innovation officer, there was a really young team that was there doing marketing. And when I walked in, I realized that this team is so amazing, and they're getting such incredible results because they don't know what they don't know, and they don't know that there are rules that they're supposed to follow. And I used to go home and say to my friends, if the CEO said, by the end of the day, I want you to get a giant gorilla on the top of the Empire State Building and put a Daily Pay flag up there, and then I want you to go find 10 people who will shoot arrows towards it, and you have $50 to do it, and literally it's 3 p.m. have it done by midnight tonight, they would do it. Not because they were brilliant, they are brilliant, and they've all moved on to incredible things, but because nobody ever told them that there was a reason not to. They were never stuck because they weren't stuck, wasn't a possibility, and they were just unstoppable. And it's a mindset because they were so inspired and they had such belief in this CEO and where this business was going that all they saw was the future. And I love that. And I think, that's part of what the book is about. Being unstoppable is truly a mindset, and being authentic and inspirational and relatable it's a framework. But, one of the few other people who has read the book said, I realized it's not something you do once, it's something you practice all the time.
Exactly.
You're shaking your head. So
yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly right. Like, you have to build up. It's like muscles, right?
I find
trust can't be taught, but the behaviors to earn it and repay it certainly can.
Right.
it's a lot easier to be unstoppable too when you're being yourself. And I think, like, especially younger people coming into the workforce, like, at least when I was younger too, I just felt like I was trying to be something I thought I needed to be. And so it's so much harder to be unstoppable when you're constantly trying to be like somebody else. It's just it's so sad. So if people can avoid that, right?
Yeah. Well, there's okay. So you're talking about chapter 2 in the book, which is called the mirror test, and also a later chapter in the book where we talk about performance leadership, where people try really hard to be what people think they should be, and as a result, people lose faith in them, or they can't find their reason. And I see this in so many companies is, the executive has a business plan and a vision, but it's never shared in a relatable way all the way down to the person that's coding the emails or creating the social posts. And so they become what I call checklist workers, where they're just checking a box. Oh, I'm supposed to get 3 posts up. I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do this, versus appreciating, when I do this, this is going to make us more believable in our community. And then as a result, we're going to drive more business. And when you pull all of that together, it's like magic. So the book, shares all those secrets of how to do that. And I'll share one of the workshops or one of the worksheets that's in the book is, and I did this at a company too. It's called the superhero worksheet, right? And it's this exercise that you do with your team, where you can do it on a Miro board or Figma, or you can do it with real life paper. It doesn't matter. But you draw a little stick figure of yourself and you give the stick figure to everybody else on your team. And everyone on the team has to write 3 things that they think you're amazing at. It can be work related or not work related. It could be, oh, she makes banana bread and I love it when she does. Or it can be, she's super, compassionate. And then write 3 things that you wish that person was better at. And I guarantee you it is so simple, but when you personally get your sheet back and you see what people think are your strengths and what they believe are your weaknesses, it never lines up with what you think you are. Like, you think you are doing something, but it's not coming across that way. And a great example of when I did this with the team was one of the pieces of feedback came back was, you always try and outshine the rest of the team. And the person's like, what are you talking about? Like, we're all on the same team. We're all the same level. I don't understand. And they said, you're sending emails at 2:00 in the morning on Saturdays when you go on vacation, you're sending them, you're always overworking. And by the way, your direct reports don't like you because it makes them feel pressure that they have to work on their holidays and vacations. And it looks to us, the rest of the team, like you're trying to always look better, be the fastest one to respond and be the best one. And in reality, this poor person was just trying to be responsive. So they thought their strength was being responsive and immediately available. Their peers and team thought it was something totally different. When you can understand that about yourself, imagine like how unstoppable you become.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show you how terrible performance reports are, or performance like things are.
Reviews.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah.
So I want to pivot a little bit to trust. You mentioned it. I think before this podcast started recording, and in the book you mentioned
It's in the title of the book.
the trust threshold as sort of this line where effort stops working, and that's just like so powerful to me. So can you like elaborate on that and like how people can maybe avoid getting to the worst parts of what lack of trust creates in an environment? Like, can you just talk about like I don't know, just tell me more about that
Yeah,
because I'm fascinated.
look for businesses. Businesses lose dollars, especially in transformational times. And one of the stories in the book, you still need to read it. There's a million stories in the book, as Matt can tell you. But one of the stories in the book, I was at a company called Zinio, and it was the world's best publications were on this app. So it was a digital publishing app. And so you could buy The Economist, you could buy Harvard Business Review, you could buy National Geographic. And I got out marketed to by Smurf Village. And I was like, what is happening?
Smurfberries.
Why are these people paying real dollars for virtual bushels of Smurf berries to save Smurfette's farm instead of paying five real dollars to get an annual subscription to National Geographic, one of the most iconic, incredible magazines in the world? And what I realized the hard way was people did not trust that brand, not National Geographic, Zinio. They didn't trust it. They didn't know it. We skipped that part. Like we have trusted content and we're bringing you a great deal, but we didn't take the time to establish trust with the brand. And it clearly came up, and me and Smurfette had to go head to head. Now that is a mistake you learn once, and then you as a leader find a way to make sure that every brand you ever work with establishes trust, and you ask the hard questions when you get into the company. It's why in this AI driven world, and prior to that digital driven world, why brand still matters. You have to establish trust with your customer. You have to establish trust with your employees. You have to establish trust with your community, so that as economic transitions happen and different types of marketing change, you still have very valuable resources and you have belief, because without that, you don't have a business. And you hear all those CEOs that stand up and they say, our employees are the most important asset that we have. It's 100% true, because, when I was the CMO of Rite Aid and Rite Aid was going through their financial troubles, if those employees did not believe in the brand and show up for work every day, it was going to go a lot worse, a lot faster than it did. And so, that trust is so pivotal to the brand, the business, to the employees, and then also to the team that you're leading. Otherwise, you get checkbox workers.
I mean, the trust signal, I think, is something that, or radar, or whatever the term is, as a leader, not everyone has or is as finely tuned into. That Zinio Smurfberry moment I thought was funny and brutal when I was reading it. But it also teaches you how little intent matters compared to what people actually understand. So that understanding, that perception, that signal, I think, like, it's trust is sometimes the biggest challenge. But what is a signal that tells you that trust is already broken when you get into a company or you take a step back from a company you're already at.
Yeah, there's so many different identifying factors. On the brand side, your NPS score could be going down. It could consistently be going down.
Sure.
Inside a business, your employees stop performing. And I don't mean just they don't show up for work. I mean, you have to tell them what to do. And I think we've all been in those roles where you're thinking, oh my gosh, like, what the company's goals are, what the team's goals are. Why am I having to sit down with you and say, did you do this, this, and this? And, sometimes people blame it on generational workforce, but it's not. It's about, are you using the I in AIR method? Are you inspiring these people? And are you doing it in a relatable way? And it's so important. But businesses start to see the lack of trust when, reviews, Reddit, Glassdoor. There's so many different places that show us the levels of trust that as companies and as brand leaders, we tend to ignore or say, oh yeah, well, that's okay. I know we might only be a 4.1 rating, or I know there might be some twos, but we fixed that. And so that should change in the future. And that's not the way that it works.
God, I can relate to a lot of this.
Good. Yeah. Because it follows the AIR method. So if it's not authentic and it doesn't inspire somebody, it's not relatable, then the book's not worth reading. And I'm hoping that it does all of those, because the reason that when I had all these prompt questions, it was asking me everything. It was just like, what's your favorite color? What do you like to eat? What's your average? First of all, I was ready to throw something instead of answering all these questions. But, the blank page to author team was like, no, you just got to stick with it. And
Trust the process.
Trust the process. Yeah. And it gave me this outline. It said, based on everything you've told me about who you are and what you do and what you love and what's important to you, here's what we think the outline should look like. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I want to know that stuff. So, it's an incredible vibe writing process. I think, Matt, we just coined a new phrase. We're going to vibe author the book.
I do like that.
But through the process, like, I learned a lot, and I think it's a framework that people can use regardless of where they are in their journey. If they're leading a big brand, a startup, or if they're just, an emerging leader trying to figure out, how do I become so relatable that I get that next promotion instead of the person next to me?
So AIR seems pretty straightforward, understanding clearly these are important. But what's the most common ways in which leaders misuse it? When they think they're getting it, but they actually really don't.
We talk about it a lot in the book. It's authenticity. People think that, and there's a whole chapter about performance leadership, where you believe that you need to act in a certain way or say certain things. You believe that if you come to the meeting and you share all the numbers in a format, that people will understand how critical performance is to the business. And it's not necessarily you being an authentic leader. It's you doing what you think the role wants you to do. And a lot of people get that way when they feel like they have imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome kills careers faster than anything else, because that's not the case. And I think, somewhere in the book, I think maybe, unless we edited it out, I say that, there is no formula for success that everyone can follow. You need to start out and figure out, what are you good at? What are you not great at? And how do you turn that into success? And if you watch, the movies about the people who were homeless and then they became, multimillionaires, and you watch all of it, and you talk to many leaders that are successful, about their success stories, they never followed a specific process. They found a process that meets who they are, and they adapted it to what their strengths are, and it works for them. And that's, I think, what everybody needs to do.
As someone who's got such a wealth of it's practical experience and stories that could be shared, and one of the hardest parts about being a leader and probably writing a book, as someone who's never done it, although maybe I now need to vibe author my own, but it's not oversharing. right? That's if people say, "Oh, you're not sharing enough and you're not participating enough," but oversharing can be just as dangerous, right? So how do leaders know when being real crosses the line into just like emotional
I feel
dumping?
like I'm challenged with that a lot because I like to overshare. Because I like
I
to be
think that's
brutally
where.
honest.
Well, no,
Yeah, stop talking. Let
Sorry,
her answer
sorry.
the question.
tell me more about that. Tell me more of your stories. Come on. Why don't you share
Stop
something?
talking.
No, I think that's where the relatability comes in. And I think, it's extremely important that you recognize who your audience is, whether it's your team, whether it's your external customer, whether it's the board, and you understand what is relatable to them. And in a story that I don't believe is in the book is when you're I was taking this leadership training at one of the companies that I was at, and it was asking me, it said you're in a room with extremely diverse people from all different age ranges and walks of life and different backgrounds. How do you approach the room? And the choices were, you come in and say what you need to say, and you don't care what anybody else thinks because you're the boss. The second one was, you look for a piece of common ground. Maybe you all love pizza, and you start to align the conversations around the fact that
Yeah.
you all had a great pizza last night, or where's the best pizza place? Or the third thing was, you ask prompting questions that allow people to give their perspective, and you weigh in on that with your perspective and say, oh, I really don't like pizza. So of course I'm like, this is a no-brainer. I'm doing the middle one. So the assessment comes back and that's wrong. Apparently that is the wrong answer. And I'm horrified because I'm like, what? But I care about my team so much and they love me. And why wouldn't we all talk about what everybody loves? And apparently, according to this psychologist, the organizational psychologist, because I called him and I'm like, I want to know why he's wrong. He said it's wrong because when you start putting that out there in a leadership role, everyone else is really trying to find something they think they can talk to you about so they can relate to you. You never gave them a chance to see what matters to them so you can relate to them. And I was like, well, I should just
Ooh.
not talk anymore.
Well, does it almost feel like it almost, I'm not putting words in your mouth or in your book, but it almost feels like it could be perceived as performative
Yes.
in a way too, right? Have you, which God, I'm certainly guilty of. I mean, hey, we have a podcast, but have you found
You're so
yourself?
performative.
Thank you. It's authenticity, though. So there's a struggle. I am stuck in this AIR tangle here. I don't know which is going to win. I'm authentically performative. No. But have you found like yourself performing instead of connecting? Like there must be instances where that
Always.
just
Like,
naturally
I,
Oh
I
happens.
no.
think that I think that's why someone else, the other person that read the book, not that there were only two of you, but like the person who read it that said my big takeaway was, this isn't something that you read and you're like, that's a good idea. It's something you have to practice, because it's true. Like, I find myself all the
Yeah.
time. That's why the book is filled with so many examples. It's not like I did it once and I'm like, okay, that's done. No, like, I screw things up all the time and every day. I mean, one of the things I love is being super authentic in leadership and value. You kind of ask this, and it's the leader who says, I don't actually know the answer, or, well, we thought this was going to work but it didn't, so here's what we're going to do now, and can come back with it. And that's authentic leadership. That's really putting it out there, and not being afraid that people are going to say, well, you must be really stupid if you thought that was going to work and it didn't. I mean, maybe some people will, but most people will appreciate that, because every single one of us has done that at some point in time. So
I
Relatable.
mean,
There
there
it
you
you
is.
literally segued to my next question for you, which was, you say relatability isn't a soft skill, it's a revenue and survival skill. So why do so many smart, successful leaders still refuse to adopt that or believe that or practice that?
I think because, everyone has an idea of what success is in their mind, and their definition of success might be hitting a certain revenue amount or hitting a title. And when they've hit it, they tend to feel that all the rules go out the window and they can do whatever they feel like. But I will tell you again, having suffered through a couple points where not relating to what was happening like cost a company dearly or cost me dearly in a leadership role. Like, these are hard lessons, and once you see them and once you see what can happen when you are relatable and you find a way to bring it all together, it's like magic. And that's where all those people you see on Instagram and TikTok that work 2 hours a week, like, that's where they come in. Like, all those people, outside of the fact that they work 2 hours a week and live on an island and everything else, like, they come across as the most relatable people that they're talking right to you.
I had an instance of this where a recruiter called me last week, and there was this open role for a CRO role, and she's like, I'm looking for somebody, but all of these like senior level sales leaders don't talk to any clients anymore. And I'm like, so you are in a revenue.
I thought you were about to break news here too, by the way,
Oh,
yourself,
yeah.
Valerie, for the record. I didn't know what was about to happen here. I got nervous.
But I'm like, these people are in sales leadership roles and they're not even speaking to their clients ever.
Yeah.
Like what is going on? I'm sorry, I digress.
Yeah.
But
No. Also not in the book. It is one of my favorite things that I love doing with companies is, because I can think of 4 companies that I was at where when I walked in, I was just said to the copywriters and to the designers and to the product people, what do you mean you haven't been to the store or you haven't talked to actual customers outside of surveys or anything like that? And when you put them in front of the customers, it changes everything. And that's perspective that you can't afford not to have.
You just brought up TikTok a minute ago, and I have a lot of very public feelings about platforms like TikTok, but you called it like attention physics. I'm trying to remember the exact term that you used, but that may offend some people. Like, I'm putting myself out there in that performative way. Why are they wrong?
Why are those people that put themselves out there wrong?
No. Like again, TikTok and attention physics, right? This concept, right? Like, what's the right way to do it?
I mean, well, if you find the right audience, then it's not wrong. It's right because there's an audience. It's seeking for.
So that's the key.
Okay. I mean, that's one of the keys that I do think that TikTok does brilliantly when their algorithms are working the right way. If you love pet bunny rabbits and you find a whole bunch of people that are bragging,
you go down the
rabbit hole and then things just hop along. But I mean, you feel like but when you're in your element with people that you can relate to or talking about relatable topics, it makes sense. If you get those on TikTok, the women that are in the cars with their seatbelts still on. So I'm not sure why they keep their seatbelts on, but they're all screaming about that day they had or their husbands. And if you're not in that world, you're like, scroll, goodbye. If you're in that world,
I don't get those. I don't know what the algorithm is telling you.
Usually, that girl has her seatbelt on. And she's talking about the treatment she got on her face.
I mean, whatever. Well, I will tell you, also not in the book, but this is actually just fun for entertainment. If you open up your Instagram and go to your Discover page when you're like at a work event and show everybody what shows up, it's probably the most horrifying thing on the planet to see what people's algorithms actually are showing them.
Is that a party game people do? Is that a thing?
Oh God! I still judge someone today for what I saw on their Discover page. He accidentally showed it to me. I was like, "Oh my God! I can never look at you the same way."
Are you gonna do it right now?
I'm nervous too. But I'm not going to tell you regardless of what comes
Yours
up
is
here.
Like,
but
so PG. I already know how PG it is. It's probably a lot about viruses and sicknesses.
Worst cold ever.
Hey,
it's a guy who looks just like me sitting in his car because he can't go in his house because he's sick. I will say, Jeannie, what I love about you is like when we talk to you, it's not jargony and the acronyms you use are like for real and legitimate. I wish more leaders, I wish more people just in our industry like talk that way, right? Because I think the language that they use, in some ways, they may not even realize it. It's pushing people away. So how do we teach that? How do we teach them to speak the right way? Is it getting them on TikTok more? I mean,
you know what I
I don't
think it
know.
is? I think it's buying all of them a book and giving it to them. And then we'll be good.
Perfect.
Nice overt plug there. I like that.
I love that.
I think everyone should gift this book to maybe that's the new TikTok trend. Everyone sends this book. When my daughter was in high school, she was really sad one day and an anonymous potato showed up. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this website or if it's even still around. It's called Anonymous Potato, where you can literally log in and send someone a potato.
Yes, I remember the potato thing.
So maybe this is our way of doing it. We'll be like anonymous air. Everyone can log in and send someone a copy of the book that they feel needs like a wake up call.
A breath of fresh air.
See, that's why you're the CMO.
And that goes viral when it's a little germy. Not so fresh.
So switching a little bit, I'm going to have to like talk to you about mass scale purchases of your book. So can I maybe get a deal on it? But switching a little bit, if someone wants to apply the 3-second rule without becoming clickbait.
Yeah, I was telling Valerie about this. This is better if you explain.
What should they focus on first? The words, the tone, the truth underneath it?
The message that you're trying to get across. So for the people that haven't read the book, which is everyone except Matt, because you're launching and announcing this, right? So, but for all the people who will,
I feel very rarefied air here, literally.
Who will read the book. I learned this when I was taking an accelerator, when I was taking a company through the RGA Techstars accelerator program, and we were getting ready for our investor pitches. And they basically said, do not open up your investor pitch with, "Hi, my name is Jeanniey Walden." Don't do that. Or do not say, "Hi, I'm the CEO of Ring Blings." They're like, you have 6 seconds. That is it to get the investor's attention. So it needs to be scroll stopping. It needs to make you stop. It's no different than in the old days when ads, when digital ads would come and you got 6 seconds of their attention to get their attention on your product.
Like
that has now come down to 3. Like in our ADD enabled world, like basically we generally have 3 to 6 seconds to get someone's attention. And the entire book includes like data and research that didn't just come from my brain. So it backs it all up. But what's important is that you figure out what is it that you want them to know, or what is it that they need to hear so that they will give you the attention for the rest of your conversation. So you don't need to sum it all up, but you need to say it somehow in a not clickbaity way, but in a powerful way. It is really, really challenging to do. I was asked to MC a documentary about the beauty industry, and I'm writing my opening comments, and I needed the first 6 seconds to not be like, "Thank you for coming here tonight," because that took up way too many of the seconds. So I had to say, this isn't another story about beauty. This is how beauty rewrites the story. So now you want to know what the heck I'm going to say next. And I can say, "Thank you all for coming here tonight for the release of this documentary." But it's that one. There's a worksheet in there for that too. It takes a lot of practice.
Wow.
So powerful though. And if you can figure out how to do it to open team meetings, then you're good. Because every team meeting, "Oh, Happy New Year. How was your weekend? What are you doing? Oh, how's your cold? What's the weather?" You're wasting 5 to 7 minutes and then everyone's distracted, and then the person's tired of talking about the weather. So then you get all the people that are like looking, typing before the meeting even starts.
I literally have a presentation next week in front of, 1,500 people. And I've been working on, everything is done, right? And the one thing I have not been able to land, I literally have my talking points right here, is the first line. And now I feel like you've prompted me to think of, I'm not going to steal your line, but I think you just gave me the prompt.
Is it about the beauty industry? Are you launching a
documentary? No.
So I love this
I'm
stuff.
not.
I love this stuff, Matt. So if you can't figure it out, shoot it to me and I'll give you thoughts too. And then you can be like, "Suck."
All right. You might be my HI
there you
prompt.
Go.
Hi, my human intelligence
there you
prompt.
Go. There you go.
it's funny because when I was reading this on my laptop and then on my phone last week on the flight home, the woman I was sitting next to, who I know, you probably know, we all know her, another industry titan. She's like, "How are you reading a work professional book on the flight home from CES?" I was like, "This isn't a workbook. This is like life. It's relationships. It's parenting." Why was it important for you to not keep air like inside these boxes as you were doing this?
Because it's not in a box. Nothing we do in life is in a box. Work and life blends for most people, whether they want it to or not. And there was a woman, and her first name is Marjorie, and I'm blanking on her last name. I think it might be Adams right now. She wrote a book called PR Parenting. And she was on the TV show. She was on Liftoff. Sorry, excuse me. And her book is about her daughter said to her one day, "You are so smart and you do all these PR crisis things at work. Why don't you ever use that to help raise us as kids?" And so she turned it into a book. And I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. We learn so much at work and at home. So why not leverage them for the benefit of everybody?
I love that you say that. And then with authenticity in life, you're saying that it's messier than at work. So what is that quiet truth people avoid in their personal lives that keeps them kind of stuck the longest and not being their authentic self?
In their personal lives, it's really just not leaning into their strengths and their weaknesses, and just it's not being authentic, you know. And it comes through in the way that you raise your children, and integrate and work with the community, build friends. It's okay to have life and have fun, and it's okay to not go out on a Friday if you're too tired, or tell your kids that you would rather play Matchbox cars than Barbie dolls. I mean, it's be who you are, and people appreciate and love that.
Yeah.
Well, having you back as the first ever second timer, we've broken the mold. So I don't know that we need to keep to the format of doing a lightning round with you, because we already got those lightning sharp insights both last time and now this time. But I guess the last question that I would have as I think about what this book is going to mean for people, and I'm going to buy several. One you'll autograph for me, because
Yay.
that I need to have that.
Yay!
But if someone reads this book and doesn't do anything, then I feel like it's not really your failure, it's probably theirs. But if there's like one choice you hope readers make after they close a book, after they finish, what would be that, not takeaway, but go do?
It's a really good question, and I would say it's the inspiration. I mean, there's just by being who you are, without trying to be anything or doing anything, you are inspiring other people around you. They see you as a parent, as a leader, as, a hard worker, as a nice person, somebody that just might help somebody across the street. And it's all those moments that we never realize the impact that we have on someone else's life, when you realize that they watched you do something and they're emulating that. And the ability to inspire people is innate in all of us. And I think anybody that reads the book, if they can just appreciate that the actions they take inspire others, then I think the book will, have made a positive impact. So
I love that. And I love you.
oh,
Thank
love
you.
you too.
Well, you know what? Valerie's going to read the book, and then we're going to have to be back for a whole nother round. We'll start over.
We'll start over. No, but
No, I mean, I feel like I could read it again. I probably missed some things. Of course, that always happens when you read a book.
I
But
want to make Jeannie proud in saying that I'm taking what she's written in the book and actually executing and practicing it.
Of course, I have no doubt that you will, because you have a lot of room for improvement. So,
no, I really look. I really do. I started out to write a book. It turned into this like crazy book that I never expected to write. And then I said, it's more than a book. It's got to be a framework. There's got to be workshops. So I want people to actionize the book, and I want them to use it to help themselves, to help their teams, to help their businesses. And I'm already like working on how does the second version of this book look, where people come back to me and say, I tried this and it was a total failure. Why did you even say this? Or I tried this and it was the most amazing thing in my entire life. And as a result, this happened. Because I think that's, the book right now is filled with my stories, but imagine when the next version of the book is filled with all of yours.
The sequel, you go, like over the threshold or past the threshold,
exactly,
something like that, where it's all the people who've gotten past
unlocking
that.
the unstoppable. Like it is, yeah. I mean, so really, like I see this as just like a living thing, because I never follow any rules, and I don't do things the normal way either, and never have. But I don't even know if I should call it a book, but we'll call it a book right now because it needs to fit somewhere.
Well, you've written a book and you've told its story.
There you
go. So we're excited to help you share that. And look, I can't imagine what's going to happen in the next year with you, but when you come back, I have no doubt that there's going to be something interesting and something different and something compelling and something inspirational and lots of things authentic. So please do.
Yes.
She's unstoppable. She's putting her work into practice. So,
Well, between then and next year, both of you and I, we all need to actually get together in the same room for drinks. And Matt,
sure.
I will.
Have we not been in the same room at the same time? We've all been in
the same room at the same time. And Matt, I'll follow the directions this time. Maybe I still have to figure that one out.
You found it that party. You found your way in.
I found my way to the party, but it was
I didn't hear this story.
Oh my God, that is a story for a whole other podcast.
There was an extra A in Aria for air, and that was apparently threw her off. A fourth letter in the hotel in Las Vegas. I only know AIR. You had another A, and I couldn't do it.
Oh my goodness.
Jeannie, thank you so much for sharing this with us. Thank you for letting me be one of the first people to read it. I felt like a lot of pressure, because if I didn't like it, I wasn't sure what we were going to do. Whew, you really put me on the spot there, but no, it was great. And I'm excited to share it with those that I love.
Well, thank you both. I'm super excited.
Good luck with
Thank you, and hopefully see you soon.
You're crushing it.
That was Jeanniey Walden, founder of Liftoff Enterprises and author of The Trust Threshold. If this conversation hit close to home, the book goes deeper. Trust isn't optional, and momentum starts there.